Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Ronan. I make vlogs and I make product and tech reviews. And in today's video, we are talking about the Meepo Board V3. Now, I've made a couple of videos about this already. I made an unboxing video and I made a video where I tested it out, took it out for its inaugural ride. So if you haven't seen those, I recommend checking them out. I'm going to leave links to them in the description below and up here, wherever they go. But today's video is slightly different. We will be riding the board, but before we do, I want to talk about the wheels. So I mentioned in my unboxing video that when I ordered this board, I ordered it with the 100mm PU sleeves because the ones that come installed on it when you buy it are the 90mm. And I'll just show you really kind of quickly. You can kind of see there, like these are already kind of scuffed up and damaged. I haven't done a huge amount of miles on this thing yet. Like I've literally only done about 20 kilometers or so on this board and they're already getting fairly scuffed and marked and damaged. And that's largely because the roads around where I live in Dublin and just the roads in general in Dublin and Ireland are not particularly smooth. So when I ordered the board, I ordered the 100mm PU sleeves. So they're basically the same as what's already on the board, just with much thicker rubber around the hub motor. And what that means is that the board should be way more comfortable and a lot smoother riding around. It also means that the overall top speed of the board will be a little bit faster. The board currently has a top speed of 47 kilometers per hour, which I think is 21 miles. And that will jump to 51 kilometers per hour, which I think is about 23 miles per hour or so. So the board will be a little bit faster with the top speed, but it's going to take it longer to get there. So some of the torque that the board has when you pull away will be lower, which actually probably for me isn't the worst thing in the world. Okay, so I've just moved onto the floor so I can do this a little bit more easily. We're going to make an attempt at taking the old sleeves off and putting these new ones on. So these are the new ones, and I'm not sure if this is really clear at the moment. But you can see there's way more rubber between the metal bit here, the hub motor, and the outside wall of the wheel here. So, and I'll be able to show you this way more clearly once I get these old ones off and you can see them side by side. And just to give you an indication of the difference between these two wheels, this is them side by side. So you can obviously see that this one here, the 100mm, is way thicker and bigger than the 90mm. So that should give me much more comfort and stability on the road. When you put these back on, they do recommend that you just try and line these screw holes up as well as possible to the screw holes in the sleeve. And the other thing they say is to keep your fingers well back from the magnet because it's pretty strong. Now I was able to just tug it off quite easily there. I thought it'd be a bit harder. It wasn't. I basically don't want to get my fingers caught between the sleeve and this metal cover here over the wheel. Yeah, that bites pretty quickly. Okay. Okay, so the first wheel is done. That was a little bit more stressful than I anticipated just because when I was putting the sleeve back on initially, it wasn't spinning freely, so it was getting caught. And there's two reasons why I think that was happening. One is I think I possibly just didn't have it on tight enough. And the second reason that I actually think that might have been happening is that when the cone, I'll just show you. When this section here, it wasn't lining up and going fully inside the rubber. So I think this was actually sitting at an off angle. So I think it was catching when the wheel spun, but the wheel is much freer now. And I just tried it on the remote and it seems to be spinning fine. So far so good. Now it's time to do the second wheel. So hopefully that goes a little bit more smoothly. So this is a complete repeat of what we did with the first wheel. So we're just gonna try and loosen these off if we can. Okay. Yeah, I was tightening that, so that's not great. That's off to a poor start already. Okay, so I've already run into some difficulty. I stripped one of the screws, which is so tight that the Allen key that they give you wouldn't open it. So I ended up having to use this tool, which is actually a size up from the one that the screw is supposed to take, and I had to hammer it in. I had to use this wrench to get the screw out. So it's all good now, I've got the screw out, but I'm hoping I don't have any more problems like that. Wish me luck. So the bearing actually stayed in the wheel this time. Didn't do that on the first one, but it was easy to take off, so it's not a problem. Okay, so my new sleeves are on the board and I'm really happy that they're on. I've done a quick test on the remote and everything is spinning fine and as it should, so there's no stress there. I destroyed 2 of the screws. One of them was completely my fault and one of them wasn't. The first one, when I was tightening it, I slipped and fell forward, and when that happened I over tightened it and stripped the screw. I didn't really mind too much because that was when I was putting the sleeve back on, so I was like, I can live with that, that can be a problem for another day. And then when I was taking the screws off on the second wheel, one of them was just too tight for the tool that Meepo sent me and it started to strip. So I got very, very stressed for a few minutes, and then I basically came up with a workaround. I got the screw out, which is the most important thing. None of the other screws gave me any bother, so I was able to change out that sleeve. And then I went back and I did the same with the screw that I had stripped. So I took that out as well. If you order replacement sleeves from Meepo, they actually send you all the screws that you need for the new sleeves. So I actually had 12 brand new screws. In this case, because I was reusing the original screws, I had spares, which was excellent. It means that I now have 10 spare screws left and I don't have any empty screw holes here because the screws are destroyed. So as far as the board goes, these new wheels are on perfectly. Everything is tightened up properly. So the only thing left to do now is actually ride the board and see what these new wheels are like. Good morning. So we're back down in Waterstown, and full disclosure, it's about 3 days later. The board has literally just been sitting on the floor in the hall, calling out to me to take it for a spin, but I just haven't been able to. So we're back down to where we first tested the board, and I want to basically see what it's like around here now, because it was pretty good when I took it around here the first time. So I want to take it around again and see, can I see any real difference in the board with the bigger wheels on the back. First thing I want to do is a hill test. So this is the hill that I'm going to be going up here. That was the first hill that I went up last time, which is just as steep, maybe slightly less steep actually. There's people on that this morning, so I don't want to go up it. I'm going to go up the empty hill that doesn't have people on it and see how the board does uphill. Last time I went up this, it was in speed 1, so it was really slow anyway, but it dropped to like 2 or 3 kilometers an hour right at the very top. We're gonna go up this hill in speed mode 2, see how we go. Okay, so the board didn't actually make it up that hill. I wonder, had it been in speed 3, would it have? It just would have had a bit more torque. That hill is definitely more steep than the one next to it, which is what I went up the last time. So I'm actually gonna go back down and go up the other one because it's clear now. So I think that would be a fairer test with these new wheels. All right, so we made it to the top, just about. One quick thing, I said just a second ago that the first time I went up that hill, I went up it in speed mode 1. That's a complete lie. I put the board into speed mode 2 over in the car park in the video when I first tested the board. So I actually went up it in speed mode 2, just gone up it in speed mode 2 again. It dropped a little bit slower, it dropped 1 kilometer slower per hour, but it did make it up the hill. So I'm gonna go around, I'm gonna go down here for a bit and take the board just for a real spin and see if I notice the differences with the torque then, and then I might try speed mode 3. Okay, some initial thoughts with the 100mm sleeves on the back. I definitely feel a lot more comfortable in speed 3 around here than I did in speed 3 on the 90mm. Once I hit kind of 24 kilometers an hour, I still aren't comfortable really going beyond that at the moment. I just feel like the board still feels a little like wobbly at that point. I've tightened up the trucks and stuff kind of as much as I want to, as much as I can at the back, to try and reduce that as much as possible. I think I just need to get new bushings. They're ordered, they're on the way, so I will follow up once I put harder bushings on there. But for the moment, with the 100mm sleeves, the first thing I'll say is anytime I've ridden this board with the 90s, almost after about like 30 seconds of being on the board, I notice that my right calf, which is the one that's at the back, starts to like cramp up and get really sore. I just figured that's something I'm gonna have to get used to. But what I noticed with the 100s is that didn't happen until maybe after 5 or 10 minutes of riding. So that's interesting already. I think the board is probably a bit more stable. Also, I'm noticing that I don't think I feel the vibrations of the path as much as I did on the 90s at all. Like, the board is much more smooth than it was on the 90s, which is awesome, because like I really could just feel every single bump and groove and dent in the path and the road. And I'm sitting on the path now. I've been on the cycle track the whole time, but they're the same surface, so I'll show you what it's like. This is what we're talking about. It's a decent surface for riding on. With the 90mm PU sleeves on the back, I could feel every groove and every just imperfection in this, whereas with the 100s I definitely feel like it's much smoother, and it makes it feel like it's almost a completely flat surface. I do think I'm going to have to really kind of put these through their paces a bit and take them to somewhere that's not as well paved, just to really see what they're like, and I'll probably do that a bit later today. I won't say anything about the top speed for the moment because I haven't gone anywhere near the top speed, but already when I put the board flat on its back and I run it at full speed, it's clocking that it's doing about 52 to 54 kilometers per hour, whereas with the 90s it was clocking at 47. So obviously I've recalibrated the remote so it knows that the 100s are on it now, and that's the speed that it says it's delivering. I just don't have the courage or the stupidity, depending on how you look at it, to go for that speed right now. I'm just not there yet. Hopefully one day, but not for now. We're back home, and just before I left Waterstown, I was riding the board. I don't have any footage of this. I rode the board kind of around the path and up that first big hill again. I actually got the board up to over 30 kilometers an hour, which was really fun. Definitely felt very wobbly at 30 kilometers an hour. There's a couple of roads around the housing estate here that are like a really rough surface, so I'm just gonna go and take the board out on some of those now, just to give it a test on those, because as I said already, the surfaces around the park that I was in are pretty decent. Now, definitely the 100mm were way more comfortable than the 90s on those surfaces, but it's time to try them out on some really rough surfaces and see what they're like. The 100mm PU sleeves have really transformed the board on the rough roads. What I'm actually finding is, because I left the 90s on the front, I feel like I'm actually getting more road vibrations at the front of the board than I am at the back of the board, but it's not a big deal. I still haven't decided whether or not I'll change the front wheels or not. I'm kind of 50-50 either way. Riding around here on the 100mm at the back, the board just feels so much more stable than it did when I was riding on the 90s, and I definitely find that I'm riding the board at a faster speed, and I'm much more comfortable at a faster speed with the bigger wheels. Definitely if you have the Meepo V3 and you're thinking about whether or not to upgrade the 90mm PU sleeves to the 100s, I would highly recommend it. I've literally only ridden the board for about 30 minutes now on the 100s, and it's so much more fun than it was on the 90s. For me, at least, as somebody who's quite inexperienced, because it's just that much more stable, I just feel safer and I'm happier on it at a faster speed than I was in the 90s. I don't feel like I'm gonna fall off in the way that I did before. Yeah, I think if you upgrade to the 100s, you will not regret it. So I would highly recommend them. Okay, so that is my installation and initial thoughts on upgrading the Meepo V3 PU sleeves from 90 to 100 millimeters. So I'm gonna leave this video here. I hope you've liked it. If you do, please give it a big thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video.